This is the squirrel. He wakes up in a state of mild panic, just like every other day. Something, somewhere, isn't quite right. He's not sure what or where, but it's definitely nut-related. He checks the pile of nuts he collected yesterday, and the day before, and the day before that. Still there. Good, but maybe not enough. He adds 2 more nuts to the pile, just in case. He knows on some level that he doesn't need that many. But anxiety doesn't care about levels. It cares about what if. What if winter comes early? What if raccoons strike at dawn? What if this is the day the sky falls, and he doesn't have a cashew to his name? No one told him the last nut would be the last. That's how they get you. So he collects. He hides some in a tree, some under a rock, some in that one hole near the stump that he swore he'd remember this time. He won't. But he tells himself he will, because anxiety also speaks fluent delusion. By midday, the squirrel is surrounded by a semi-organized empire of edible backup plans. And yet, he's uneasy. Because the problem with anxiety isn't the lack of nuts. It's the fear of not having enough. Even when your cheeks are full, your paws are tired, and your tree looks like a bulk bin at a grocery store. So he double-checks, recounts, moves them around. A few nuts feel off, suspicious, maybe infiltrated. He licks one, just to be sure, still a nut. Panic averted, for now. Because the squirrel has what scientists call a hyperactive nut monitoring system. It's a highly evolved instinct designed to keep him alive, but in his case, it's on all the time, like a fire alarm that can't tell the difference between a burning forest and a warm candle. The thought of being unprepared feels like danger, so he prepares, constantly. The irony? He's never once run out of nuts. He's also never once felt safe, because anxiety isn't cured by abundance. It's fed by it. The more he stores, the more he thinks he needs. The more he thinks he needs, the more he stores. And the cycle continues, like a squirrel-shaped feedback loop of mildly unhinged behavior. The squirrel pauses to breathe, or at least attempts to. His chest feels tight. His little squirrel heart beats like a drum solo at a music festival. He wonders if other squirrels feel this way. He wonders if they notice his pile, if they judge it, if they think it's messy, or weird, or not enough. He adds 5 more nuts just in case. 1 for judgment, 1 for shame, 2 for imagined emergencies, and 1 for that vague feeling of impending doom that doesn't have a name, but definitely deserves a nut. He is exhausted, but he doesn't rest. There's no time to rest. There's nut stuff to do. Always nut stuff. Because if he ever stopped, what if that's the exact moment something bad happens? So he keeps going. He's not okay, but he is prepared. And to an anxious squirrel, that's basically the same thing. If this squirrel's struggle feels a little too familiar, you might want to stick around. He's got a lot more nuts. And we've got a lot more to say. Like, subscribe, and we'll keep digging. Later that day, the squirrel returns to one of his favorite hiding spots. It's under a rock, behind a stump, just past the crooked root that looks like a snake, but isn't. Usually, he remembers putting 2 nuts there, maybe 3, or none. Or maybe that was yesterday. Memory is not his strong suit, but panic is always punctual. He checks the spot. Nothing. He checks it again, as if the nuts might just be shy. Still nothing. And just like that, his heart shifts from calm curiosity to existential emergency. A full-blown nut spiral. What if he lost them? What if someone took them? What if he only imagined them? What if there never were any nuts? What else has he made up? Is any of this real? He sprints to the base of the tree, checking another stash. It's still there, but now he doesn't trust that pile either. What if those are decoy nuts? What if they're the wrong kind of nuts? What if they're poisoned? He licks one again. Still a nut. Maybe. This is the moment where anxiety stops being about the outside world and starts becoming a story that lives entirely inside his head. A story with bad lighting, a suspenseful soundtrack, and no clear plot. Starring him. There's no evidence of danger, just the feeling of it. And once that sets in, no amount of logic stands a chance. Because in the anxious brain, logic is a houseplant left out in winter. It's not going to make it. And the squirrel, he knows it's irrational. He knows nuts don't vanish into thin air. He knows he's got more than he needs. He knows he's safe. But anxiety doesn't speak knowing. It speaks what if. It speaks but maybe. It speaks don't take the chance. So the squirrel keeps moving, digging, recounting, scanning. And the longer he chases certainty, the further it runs. He finds a nut behind the log and lets out a tiny gasp of relief. But it lasts maybe 3.5 seconds. Then, what if this is the last nut I ever find? What if I drop it? What if it rolls down a hill and into a badger's den and I never see it again? So he stores it and immediately misses it. The anxiety doesn't come from the absence of the nut. It comes from the possibility of the absence, the potential loss, the imagined mistake, the invisible threat. It's not about what is, it's about what might be. And what might be is basically everything. Always. At this point, the squirrel's paws are shaking. His tail is twitching. His eyes dart around like he's being followed. He isn't. But try telling his nervous system that. Because when your body thinks there's a threat, your logic doesn't get a vote. Your job is to move, react, fix something, even if there's nothing to fix. And so he does. He tries deep breathing. He tries chewing on a calming walnut. He tries reading a mindfulness scroll another squirrel gave him once in a group chat called Acorn and Inner Peace. Nothing works, because anxiety doesn't care about logic or mindfulness. It only cares about control. And nuts? You can lose them, he knows. He's lost some. Probably. Maybe. At least, it feels like he has. And sometimes, that's all it takes. Eventually, the squirrel hits a wall. Not literally, though that has happened before, especially during high-speed nut recon. No, this is a mental wall. A deep, echoing, what's the point sort of wall. He's exhausted. He's surrounded by nuts. And yet, he feels no calmer than when he had none. Which is strange. Because wasn't this the goal? To be prepared, to be safe, to finally be able to breathe. He sits quietly, trying not to think. Fails miserably. His tail itches. A leaf moves. Probably wind or war. He starts to get up. But then, something strange happens. He doesn't. He stays put. He watches the leaf blow away. No raccoon ambush. No nut thief. Just wind. And in that moment, something shifts. It's not peace. It's not clarity. It's the absence of immediate nut-related disaster, which for him is basically a holiday. Over the next few days, he experiments. He tries leaving one nut unburied, just one. He walks away from it, comes back 10 minutes later. It's still there. Okay, good start. Next, he tries not licking each nut before storing it. Tougher, takes practice. Eventually, he stops licking 3 out of 5. That's progress. Then he tries sitting in front of his pile without touching it. He twitches, a lot, but nothing explodes. And that's the thing. Nothing explodes. No one steals his nuts. The sky remains intact. His worst fears don't materialize just because he stopped preparing for them 24/7. Turns out, anxiety didn't need more nuts. It needed less panic about losing them. Because anxiety isn't really about what you have. It's about how much fear you attach to having or not having it. It's about a brain that sees every shadow as a predator and every gap in control as an emergency. But sometimes, it's just a leaf. He still gets anxious. Of course he does. He's a squirrel. He still checks his stash, still counts, still rearranges. But now, he notices when it starts. He names it. Oh, there I go again. Nut spiral classic. And sometimes that's all it takes. A pause, a smirk, a moment to catch himself mid-dig and go, maybe not today. He even joins a local support group, Squirrels Anonymous. Motto, we see the nuts. We feel the nuts, but we are not the nuts. It's mostly just sitting in circles and pretending not to look at each other's stashes. But it helps. The anxiety doesn't go away. It's still there in the background. But now it's not the only voice. There's also curiosity, humor, compassion, and occasionally, quiet. He'll never be a squirrel without worry, but he's learning to be a squirrel who worries less. And sometimes that's more than enough, especially if you've still got one emergency almond in your back pocket, just in case. He's not cured, just a little less panicked, And if you want to see him fumble his way through therapy, triggers, and squirrel support groups, hit subscribe. It helps more than a nut ever could. Probably.